Well, hello there. Welcome to part 2 of our series, Sustainability, Taking the First Step. Since we last spoke, Lauren Branson from Calyx and Karen Lebsant from Kurrajong Kitchen have been talking to each other and sharing some paperwork. So let's pick back up from where they're at. Lauren.
Thanks, Kim, and hi, Karen. Really good to be chatting again. So just as a reminder, I'm Lauren Branson, the CEO of Calyx. We're a data intelligence company that supports food brands on their sustainability journey, measuring the carbon, biodiversity, and water footprint of their products and ingredients. So Karen is the guinea pig in this whole little exercise and is bearing all the and we'll hear from her in a minute. But so the first step to really trying to measure the sustainability of your products, and just to remember, we focus on the sustainability of our products and ingredients when we're talking about carbon, biodiversity, and water, because as a company, they account for over 90% of your environmental footprint. So it's really about focusing on where you have the greatest opportunity to drive the biggest amount of change. So the first step to that is actually gathering information about what is in your product and ingredients so that we can footprint it. So what Karen and I have done is I've shared a data collection sheet with Karen and her team and asked for her to provide, I guess I should just rewind a little bit. What we try and do with companies is we try to make sure that the data collection process is as seamless as possible so that you don't have to, go down the supply chain to all of your farmers and collect individual information from them. It's about working with what you've got to begin with. And then if we need to, identifying gaps in that. So again, instead of running around like crazy for data that might not actually matter, we help you understand what data do you need to get to measure this. So as a minimum, what you need is the recipe with percentage inclusion of ingredients, which as food manufacturers you will all have and know very well. And then also the area or country of origin for that ingredient. And then any certifications that might be attached to that ingredient. So that might be whether they're organic, whether it's fair trade. So as a minimum, that's what we need to do. So I sent a beautiful data collection sheet across to Karen. And Karen, I would love to hear how you and the team went with collecting your data.
Thank you, Lauren. Hi, Kim. Yes, for those listening, Karen from Kurrajong Kitchen, CEO and co-founder. So I've been tasked with this journey of, drawing the line in the sand and taking our first step in sustainability and being able to measure it. So at least we have, as Lauren's indicated, some data by which we know how to go forward. We actually, and I was discussing before with Lauren, is we're an SQF accredited business. So we've for a long time been globally accredited in a quality and food safety standards, HACCP, ISO, etc. So we collect a lot of data and we know what it's like to collect data, and we understand the value of that data. So when this information came across our desk as to what we were requiring, we were readily able to find this data. We had it in our records, we had it in our QA records, and we were able to extract it out. I would imagine for a business that possibly didn't have strong auditing processes is that it may be a little scary finding this data. But what I think it was is that it's there and they've got it somewhere, and this is where we originally started before our auditing data journey, is the data's there, you just have to start to gather it forward. And so it was a little, I think the confronting part was, should we say this? Should we tell them that? Why do they need that, right? And it is that exposure of brand, exposure of where I'm really going to be measured and how I'm going to be perceived, etc., as to the data collection. But throwing the hat in the ring for Kurrajong Kitchen, we're prepared to go there and see where this journey takes us, and no doubt it will be a really interesting one.
I love it. So Karen, just to touch on that to help some of the other SMEs listening. So you've obviously been on this sort of quality assurance and safety journey, which has prompted you to start collecting all of this data. Where does that data currently reside for you? Is it in a software platform that you have? Is it in Excel spreadsheets? Is it in PDFs in a folder? Where does that all sit?
Almost all of the above, to tell you the truth, Lauren. So it's we have we don't have any amazing software. So as a business, we really run off spreadsheets as a business. We run off, obviously, our accounting program, which is an ERP program. So it gives us a little bit more data that's been collated into that, but not so much from this side of things. We really run on a cloud-based service that has all our quality assurance folders that's broken down, and here's the hard copy and documentation by which to support that. So it's a good old-fashioned method. So you don't have anything amazing. Yeah, it's just that.
Yeah, it's really good to hear, because I think sometimes companies think, oh my God, I've got to, have all this amazing software. But actually, Excel is amazing for what it can do. And I think just, rather than making everything really difficult, just being, as you said, open and honest to what you've got and where it is and what works for you as well, I think.
And Lauren, surely if you're working with a client who doesn't, isn't operating with some particular sorts of systems or that, could make it all more streamlined, in a way, I mean, it doesn't matter if it comes in on just a sheet of paper, does it? Because you're still just getting that information that you'll then be able to utilize. I think it can be like death by a thousand cuts. So if you're not already, anxious about where are you going to find that data, then if you're worried about, well, how am I going to input it, or which system will I use? There's just so many, options for you to just throw it into the too hard basket again, and just think, so I'll just deal with that later.
And I think also what people are using is usually 100% perfect for their businesses. I think sometimes people are just embarrassed and they think, oh, John around the corner, he's probably got this amazing software that he's using and it's all streamlined and it's not held together in Excel spreadsheets or in manila folders in a filing cabinet. But actually, that's how a lot of it still is. And that's 100% okay. I think the other thing that Karen touched on that I think it sounds like her and her team have been thinking a lot about is as well, what does this mean from a brand perspective? So we haven't assessed Karen's product for her yet, so she's got no idea whether it's good or bad. But I think obviously, Karen's being amazingly brave, and it talks to the integrity with which Kurrajong Kitchen works and exposing everything about her company. And you sort of think about it, you've never seen this data before in terms of a carbon footprint of a product. It's very new for people to understand. And for us, even, working with the data and mapping food supply chains for different ingredients, we're always on a learning journey as well, understanding the impact of different supply chains or in different regions. And so I think at the moment there's a lot of caution from brands in terms of, oh my gosh, I don't know what we're going to look like, so I'm not going to do anything. But I think it's about, as Karen said as well, starting to measure what you've got. Maybe you use the data internally first before you talk publicly to your customers about it. And then, say this is what we're doing or this is where we want to go. And, being okay to look at yourself and understand where you're at and then start that journey. It's very much where the market is at the moment. So it's okay.
And can I add to that, Lauren, is what you said is like you don't know what you've got, you don't know what you're going to do with it, etc. And sometimes the thought of, if I know what I've got, I'm actually going to be overwhelmed by anything I need to do. I don't have the financial resources, I don't have the human resources, I don't have the brain space at all, to deal with it. So people just go, I won't deal with it, or companies just go, SMEs often, but just the ability to capture and then put in timelines, I think, and the plan is really important at some point.
I think so. And if you think about worst case scenario, let's say we measure the, carbon, biodiversity and water footprint of Karen's beautiful product. And let's say it looks really bad. And then I think the next step from that would be for Karen to actually connect with her suppliers and start a relationship. And out of that, that's a beautiful process in itself. And then out of that, you can bring elevated brand story and connection. And so it does. Sometimes I guess maybe it helps rejuggle that priority list in terms of, what you want to do as a brand to really elevate and help stand out. But it can be confronting. I think like all of us, we never want to change. But the first step, as you said, is just to seeing what's there and then deciding what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And even to that point, just as you were saying, the next step to approach your suppliers, etc. I think there's a step in between, because once you, and it'll be pick yourself off the ground, right? Okay, to sort of like, because a reality check, to take that in, and the reality check of, because if it's determined you often think you're doing the right thing, or the intent is you're doing the right thing. But if it comes back with data and going, wow, you're doing the right thing with great intent, but just by doing that, that's actually causing a whole lot of this, and the right, good, bad, or indifferent, it's a measurement of, let's start with it.
I think two themes that we were talking about that Karen's team was sort of going through with the data collection as well, that we see across sustainability, and there are lots of different pillars of sustainability, but two of the large ones for the environment were low emissions. So, the emissions and the footprint associated with the production of something. And then and that's all new as well. Like, whether you're an SME or a corporate, it's all new to look at your business from that lens. And then the other theme is circularity. So how can we move away from a extractive linear supply chain or use of resources to a circular use of resources that keeps the resources at their highest value for as long as possible? And so it's interesting starting to try and look at the business across both of those lenses, because a lot of the amazing work that you guys do in manufacturing in your facilities, often it ticks a lot of those boxes around circularity. So how can we, reticulate our water? How can we reduce waste? All those sorts of things. So trying to understand what bucket do these different actions that we're carrying out sit in, and how can we communicate and talk about that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so where are we at? Have we got figures? Have we got numbers?
We don't have figures yet. So what we've done, so that's all we're going to talk about today is the
good
journey. Okay?
Lovely.
So then we're going to go away. We're going to footprint Karen's Oaklees crackers, and then we're going to come back and talk about that next week. But it's really important, and we wanted to pause on this data collection process, because actually, if as a company you can't understand or grapple with the collection of data across your business, then it's a huge blocker to moving forward to being able to footprint. The work that we do now is the easy part. Karen and her team have done the heavy lifting with getting the data together and sharing it with us. But it's really, I think, we wanted to highlight that for Karen, hopefully, and you can talk to the team, Karen, but hopefully it hasn't been a huge drama to collect that data. As you said, you've already got some systems in place, and it just means that you can start to move forward. So we really want to echo to all of the other SMEs listening is that you've probably got, or you will 100% have all of this stuff there. Don't think you need to clean all that stuff up before you can start on your sustainability journey. Start with what you've got, and then if there are gaps, we can come back and look at how you can fill that stuff. But you've got it, so don't be afraid of moving forward. I think
that's it is such an important conversation, because it can be the breaker. It's the spot where people just go no, which is not because they're so either intimidated or overwhelmed. And so it's just have faith with what you've already got, and then worry about the gaps once you're talking to the experts.
And to that, when you talk about, Lauren, you've used my team as a number of times, there is we have one QA person, we have one, we're not a big team in any sense of the word. We are a small compact team who cross tasks and are multi-skilled across different areas, so we're all supporting each other, and that includes myself as well. So we're not a big organisation that has everybody sitting at the right spot and the right time and extract like that. We are paper based and not always, but it's a variation of what we do, so for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess stay tuned on that. Don't be frightened of your data. Whatever you've got is enough and okay. And I think the big other thing is, don't do all this pre-work thinking you need to do it. The whole idea with this is looking at what you've got right now, and then fill the gaps where it actually matters, rather than doing all this running around like a monkey filling gaps where maybe it doesn't matter at all. So stay tuned. We're going to footprint Karen's products and come back and talk to you about that next week.
How exciting. Okay, everyone. So that's us for episode 2. And just as Lauren said, tune back in next week and we'll see where we're at with what Karen has pulled together.
Absolutely. Look forward to it next week.
Thanks so much, guys. See you later.
Bye.